When we're trying to progress through pull-ups, a lot of us just continue to add load. But I want to talk about 3 tactics today that are really essential to helping you get better at this exercise without risking injury. Pull-ups are one of the fundamental exercises we use in climbing, and we sort of look at this exercise in 3 different phases. 1, getting to the point that we can do a single pull-up, then getting to the point that we're much stronger at those pull-ups, and then the really high advance of that, which would be like doing a 1-arm pull-up. But today we're going to talk about that middle zone where we're trying to get a little bit stronger at these and we're hung up. Let's talk about technical correctness. For us, a technically correct pull-up starts with straight elbows hanging at the bottom, palms forward, and then ends with the entire head above the bar and the face facing forward. A lot of people will tend to tip their chin up, trying to get their chin above the bar without actually moving their body that high. And so let's really work to get your collarbones or your neck to the bar level. If you can do a full range pull up and you can do it really, really nicely, that's when you can start into progressing these things. When we think about getting stronger, it's really essential that we overload the muscles in the strength zone. And if we overdo the repetitions, like if we go to failure every single set of a group of pull-ups, we end up going into some more power endurance or endurance, and the strength overload becomes diminished. And so what I really want to encourage athletes to do is to stick to 3 to 5 repetitions. And if you can do all 3 or all 5 repetitions and they're all very, very perfect, they all look the same, then we can start to add load. And so step 1 is to aim for getting 3 sets of 5 reps of great pull-ups. The next natural thing is to put a weight belt on or a weight vest and start to add load. Most people can add 2.5 pounds or 5 pounds and go and do almost the same number of reps. As soon as your tempo slows or as soon as the form starts to fail, we want to stop the set right then. Again, I don't care about the number of reps you do. I care about the number of high quality reps you do. And so when you can do 3 sets of 5 repetitions at this next higher load and it looks really, really awesome, you can then progress the load. Most people end up in a situation where they can no longer progress load. They've hit some kind of training plateau. And that's where we start looking at other ways of progressing the pull-up. So tactic 1 is to just add load, like I said. You can do a few different things there where you throw some varied load at yourself. You can switch the reps and the sets around, but most people will end up just staying kind of in that same zone. That stuff is wonderful to do and it keeps you from getting overloaded in one particular pattern. But I think the most important thing is to take a big step away. And so our second tactic is what we call ladders. And these are called strength ladders. And what we do is we hold the load fixed at a given level, but we vary the number of repetitions. And over the course of a training cycle, we keep increasing the number of repetitions you're asked to do in each workout. The way to start here is to find a load that you can do pretty easily for somewhere around 8 to 10 repetitions. That might be body weight if you've been doing some weighted pull-ups. And what we're going to do is find that number, and then we're going to go back and we're going to do our first set of pull-ups for 2 repetitions. Do some other exercises, then come back and you do 4 repetitions. Go do some other exercises, then come back and do 6 repetitions. So that's 12 reps so far in the workout. You continue to do more of them, 2, 4, 6. And so then you've done 24 reps in that workout, then you're going to go home. The next thing you do is come back to the gym and we're going to add 1 more set the next time. So workout number 2 is going to go 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 2. And then we're going to add another set the next workout of 4, and then another set the next workout of 6. And so then we're up to our 36 repetitions, and we keep adding just a few more reps each one of these workouts, but we're going to maintain this load, which is a relatively light load. It's probably around 70% of your max, but we're gonna build up and build up and build up. And over the course of 4 to 6 weeks of 2 to 3 workouts a week, you're gonna get up to a huge number of repetitions you're doing, but the load will never feel like it's challenging for you. And what happens for most people in our experience is they then can go back to a weighted pull-up at the level at which they were plateaued, and they can push that number up quite a bit. Sometimes it's huge, it's like 10%, 15%, and that is an amazing step forward for somebody that's become this strong. Again, this is the ladder program, and it's very, very simple. The rules are pretty flexible on it, but what we like to do is just add repetitions, but do not progress load throughout an entire training cycle. So tactic 1 is to add load. Tactic 2 is to hold the load at 70% and add repetitions. Both of those tactics tend to play out for most of our athletes. They quit adapting to that particular overload, and that's fine. The third tactic's a really simple one. I really like it, and it tends to work very well for athletes, and this is just timed sets. In this workout, you're gonna do kind of a combination of the first two. What we're gonna do here is set a timer to chime once a minute. And at the beginning of each minute, I'm gonna ask you to do 2 repetitions of a pull-up, and you're gonna do that for 15 minutes straight. And so at the end of those 15 minutes, you'll have done 30 repetitions. You can do some stretching in between, you can do some light moving around, but don't put other exercises in between. Don't pick up your phone, don't go do something else. Just be there with the pull-ups. And so most people, I'll tell them to start this at body weight because the volume is kind of high and the loading is a little bit different than you've probably been doing in other workouts. And so 2 repetitions every minute for 15 minutes. If you get through those and the last 2 reps of the whole thing, minute 14 or minute 15, look really, really good, then we're gonna add load, and we're gonna add just a little bit of load because we're gonna pull that load out across the whole thing. And so you add 2.5 pounds to a weight vest and you go through it again. 2 reps each minute for 15 minutes. We're gonna add load only when we can do all of the reps of the entire workout with technical correctness. And over time, you're gonna get to where you can do a whole bunch of those, and you're gonna be able to do them with a whole lot of weight. I don't like to see people go to 20 or 25 minutes of these. Once in a while, we'll let athletes go to 3 repetitions, but when our goal is strength, we can just stay with those 2 and we can continue to see really excellent progress. The most important thing is to be patient and look at the long view on this, but again, at the end of a 4 to 6 week cycle, you should be able to do a couple of things. Number 1, you'll probably be able to pull a higher maximum load, a single rep with a loaded weight vest or weight belt, and that number should go up. The second thing that you're probably gonna do is see your total repetitions of a body weight pull-up go up. And this is kind of one of those things that we don't quite understand why it happens so easily, but you can have a person that can say do 12 or 15 pull-ups, and they go and they do a whole bunch of these 2 rep, 2 rep, 2 rep on the minute pull-ups, and they're never chasing that higher rep number. We're never going out for max, but after 4 to 6 weeks of training, very often we'll see an athlete that will be able to do 3 or 4 or 5 more pull-ups at body weight after doing just this other completely different kind of training. And that's a really cool training effect. And these are the kinds of things we look for. How do we get better at something, some facet of our fitness without just constantly attacking that one thing? And these training effects are really useful because they help us with our economy. They really keep us from going into that pain zone all the time, and they improve our overall performance. When we're trying to get better at pull-ups, it can seem like you just get to this number and it's always going to be a grind. And so if you do get plateaued, consider getting tricky with adding load, getting into a point that you do a rep progression like the ladders, or do something like these timed sets. The big important thing here, and I'll say it again, is don't get hurt in the gym. If your elbows are starting to hurt or your shoulders are starting to get creaky, it means that you're doing something wrong that's going to lead you to a more serious injury down the road. And so we want to back off if we're starting to get hurt, and if we're not starting to get hurt, we're going to go gas to the floor.